evolution on like a Murktide style setup, but really trying to leverage a little bit more of the Wizard synergies. No cards like Wizard's Lightning. I think there's been a little bit more of that card in Modern, or at least worth giving another look, as various new additions have been involved. And Leyline of the Guild Pact, the big synergy card for this Domain Zoo deck, is already coming out here for Jonathan White, who gets to tap the Windswept Heath for red mana to cast Ragavan. Awesome.
Yeah. So we're gonna see if Martin can recover with maybe a lightning bolt on the Ragavan. There was no subtlety in hand. What I'm really interested to see is Martin has 4 copies of Tishana's Tidebinder, and Jonathan has 4 copies of Stubborn Denial. We have these blue kind of gotcha cards, and I want to see how on the radar both players are with these cards. Now, Jonathan doesn't even sacrifice his fetch lands to play spells. And here we have, like, basically, if you could choose a main character for Modern right now, it probably would be Leyline of the Guild Pact on turn 0, and then Scion of Draco on turn 2, a 2-mana 4/4 flyer, a bunch of keywords. You name a keyword, it's probably got it. I want to see if Martin has a response for this threat. Looks like there's something happening, maybe a lightning bolt, like a verbally announced lightning bolt happening here to take down the Ragavan. Well, I'll see if reality can catch up to this possible future.
Yeah, I believe, yeah, it's classic. I'm going to kill your Ragavan in response. You can have all these keywords, but it's not going to be with a Ragavan in play too. Now, that doesn't mean that, that Martin's out of the woods. This just means he's not dead on the spot. If Ragavan gets to have all those keywords, like, we're basically done here. I mean, First Triangle, Hexproof, Vigilance, the whole Christmas list. Here we go. Martin is reading the Christmas list of Side of Draco as well. Pretty hard to answer. And we see a really large uptick on the card. Pick Your Poison. From the Murders at Karlov Manor, because it does have a 1-mana Edict effect, which does break this up. Now, the Izzet deck here, sometimes you'll see a lot of decks that are base Izzet, base Azorius, whatever, splashing green to make those Pick Your Poisons happen. And I don't think we see any of that here. There's no green sources.
Not in the main deck, but I think Martin will be definitely happy to bring in those 3 Pick Your Poisons.
Oh, he's got some in the sideboard. Okay, all right.
Like you said, this card is
in the main. Oh, no,
this card is so... Okay. This card is so impactful that a blue-red deck is just playing 3 in the sideboard with, 1 green source, like in the main deck, a breeding pool to cast it. But that'll be in games 2 and game 3. Right now, Martin is staring down this 4/4, let's see, Hexproof, Vigilance, Lifelink, First Strike, and Trample. Mostly, Hexproof is kind of like the key word that really is like, really grinding the gears of Martin right now. So, like, in the blue-red deck, he's kind of maybe play a bigger creature, like a huge Murktide Regent, or draw some cards with Wizard's Lightning to get that happening. But definitely he's under the gun with this Sign of Draco on turn 2. Jonathan had the combo, turn 0 Leyline, turn 2 Sign of Draco. What you got? And it's up to Martin to figure out what he's got.
Yeah, especially on the draw, the answer is nothing. I mean, not even counterspells and stuff like that worked. And, either one of these pieces, he could really answer individually. Like the Leyline itself, not really a problem. The Sign of Draco, if it's just by itself, you can tag with the Flame of Anor. We got 4 copies of a Shadow really in the main deck. With none of that really available, there's not a lot of ways out. Basically, your only answer is a really large Murktide, and we're still a fair ways, I think, from being in a spot where that's going to be successful. And Jonathan's continuing to deploy creatures, but I really think it's what Martin's looking to do right now is find one of his 2 copies of Murktide using cantrips and stuff like that, and then actually start to get a blocker good enough to put in front of the Scion of Draco and hope that is able to get it done before he can just get burnt out by Tribal Flames and things of that ilk.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan basically had, I would say, one of the near most perfect starts you can with the deck. You've got your turn 2 combo of Leyline of the Guild Pact and Scion, but you also had turn 1 Ragavan, which did have to draw an answer from the opponent, or you just win the old-fashioned Modern Horizons 2 way of attacking with a 2/1 for 1 mana. But yeah, Martin, as usual, the Domain Zoo deck is your aggressive deck. Like you're not spending your wheels with these ways to look through your deck, these Preordains or these Lórien Revealed or these Baubles. You're just like turn 1 Monkey, turn 2 Dragon. Is that good enough? And it looks like it might be here without the presence of Murktide Regent.
Yeah, and here's Tishana's Tidebinder. That really, actually, funnily enough, kind of one of the removal spells that works as the Brawlers coming across the red zone. Has, I believe, 5 power, but only 3 toughness, so is going to be able to trample. But unfortunately, they have First Strike. That is one of the words you mentioned. If it has a keyword, it's going to have it. Side of Draco does give First Strike to Tishana's Tidebinder, so even having a blocker that lines up and looks like it's going to work, not quite. Take 5 trample. Just no way out.
When I was burning a Leyline the Guild Pact deck the other day, I'm like, oh, I can like pitch like lands to my pitch elementals, right? No, you can't. But Guild Pact is a lot of words on it. You don't even cast the dang card. Like it's got Green Devotion for 4. It's so many words on it that Martin's like, you know what? I think I'm going to go to the sideboard now and try to pick some poisons to take care of that.
Yeah, I mean, more or less, Jonathan got, what do you call it? Whatever you want to call it, the God draw, anything like that. Pretty much the best hand that I think the Domain Zoo can present in this matchup, if nothing else. And the Is It Wizards deck, especially being on the draw, that's just not going to be good enough. And to game 2 we go. An explosive start from Jonathan White. We'll see how Martin Ambroz can answer, get a look at the sideboard, and Pick Your Poison stands out immediately.
Yeah, so in Martin's sideboard, he's got basically, you know, your normal one-ofs of a bunch of removal spells, things to bring in. Martin's probably going to be looking at shaving maybe some Mishra's Baubles. He doesn't have any of the Dragon's Rage Channeler or crime-oriented cards that Bauble is really good at doing. It's kind of just like filler, fill the yard up, see through your decks. Maybe you can take out some of those, maybe trim some other things. This deck has some non-creature spells, but really it's the creatures and the Guild Pack, which you cannot counterspell, that are really doing it. So probably bringing in this Pick Your Poisons, maybe the Stern Scoldings for a Ragavan or something because you're on the play. There's a couple of other cards in Jonathan's deck. Stone of Erech. I think I'm saying that right. I'm not sure. Erech?
Sure, good enough for me.
Yeah, that's kind of more of a graveyard hate card that also draws a card. You love to see it. So maybe Magus of the Moon comes in here too. I'm not actually sure. What are you thinking, Drake?
Yeah, like I said, the Pick Your Poison is going to stand out as the slam dunks, and that's 3 slots you have to find room for. That's already a lot. You can reach for things like Dress Down if you really just want extra answers to get out from underneath what we saw in game 1, the whole Leyline plus Scion thing. You can Dress Down and then start to really interact for at least a turn. That can do a little bit in your favor, but really more good against the like Urza Saga style setups, which this deck isn't really doing. And then, yeah, the big question is whether or not you want to try to Blood Moon. Those are really there for Amulet Titan, but they have splurge value against the Domain deck when they don't have Leyline, because they're, once again, playing a bunch of colors. You know, Tribal Flames is in their deck. Like, Moons should be good. It's not clear that they actually will be, you know, once again, because Leyline does solve so many problems, especially if you have a single basic in your deck. So you could reach for them, could not. I could see give or take those, but the Pick Your Poisons and the Dress Down seem like the best cards of the bunch to me. Let's have a look at Jonathan White and his take on Domain Zoo, a relative newcomer to the modern format and has been explosive for jumping onto the scene with the exact combo we saw. Leyline of the Guild Pack, Sign of Draco, and they have 4 copies of Pick Your Poison on the sideboard. Not so good in this matchup, alongside 3 Stern Scolding, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Cursed Totem, 2 Hallowed Moonlight, the Gigantha companion, and Spell Pierce. Talk to me about how you want to beat Is It Wizards.
Yeah, so it's interesting to think, you know, we have access to all the information on the deck list. The players don't. So from Jonathan's side, he saw, you know, some removal spells, a Tishana's Tidebinder, really kind of a blue-red control deck. So I don't know if you'd want in, like, the Stern Scoldings that only hits the Tidebinder that he saw. He didn't see anything else. Right. So this aggressive game plan deck is kind of made to beat these weird, dirtily kind of control decks. So there's not a whole lot I'm looking in for, like the Pick Your Poison, saw 0 targets. Stern Scolding, saw Tidebinder, that was it. Rest in Peace. You can probably guess there's going to be some graveyard shenanigans, but I don't think it's worth taking out any card in your main deck for Rest in Peace. Hallowed Moonlight, you're not playing Glorious Vengeance, not doing crazy stuff like that. So the Spell Pierce, I could probably see bringing in if your opponent's playing a bunch of Violence, a bunch of Mountains, and not a lot of creatures. Spell Pierce is kind of just all-around good thing you want to bring in. So I kind of think I want to keep most of the same game plan going for Game 2 and Game 3 with Jonathan.
Right, I completely agree with you. I think his main deck's already pretty loaded with the 4 copies of Stubborn Denial, going to be probably the moneymakers in this matchup for the most part. The Spell Pierce seems like the best of the bunch, and really the only card I would be interested in if I was looking at Jonathan White's lineup of sideboard cards, which to me, I mean, being that light against a generic control strategy speaks that you believe yourself to be good against these kinds of fair decks, which is like kind of a status I think you called out, where these Domain decks are really looking to get out from underneath these control decks by having just these really sticky threats. Sign of Draco, that hexproof, again, matters so much. That's why we see 7 copies of Pick Your Poison between these 2 decks in this matchup featured in the sideboards. It's just so important for breaking up the exact combination we saw in game 1, because it feels so bad to just have that happen on turn 2, and it's like, I guess there's nothing I can do. To the sideboard we go.
Yeah, and so, you know, Jonathan is mulling with his Domain Zoo deck, which sometimes you could really feel like maybe you mulligan to 6 and you have 2 Leylines in your opening hand. You're like, oh, I'm down to like 3 cards or something. But, you know, he's got a couple copies of Territorial Cov. It looks like he will be doing the manual mode of playing lands with types and not just guild pacting. We do see that 1 Blood Moon in Martin's sideboard is in the main deck and is in his opening hand. So we're going to see this Blood Moon probably come down on turn 3, and maybe that could just be the ball game since there's no guild pack on Jonathan's side.
Well, funnily enough, I think there's a copy. Is that a copy of Pick Your Poison in Jonathan's hand? Do we just have an answer to Blood Moon dialed up? Brought a few copies in.
That would be amazing if so.
Be a good
I don't
one.
think Martin would be able to predict that, but you know, we'll see if it happens.
Absolutely. Flooded Strand there on turn 1. Double Bauble from Martin, as well as the Surveillant, doing a lot of selection for someone that did not spend any mana on turn 1 to cast anything. Did cast 2 Baubles, had some cards coming for that reason. And now here we are on main phase of turn 2, leading off on Preordain. Those are 2 spells. If you're looking for lands, that's not what you want.
Goodbye, the bottom they go. Goodbye spells. I need some lands. Another Preordain. Well,
that's not a land, but if you have a land to cast it, that does some of the work. Second Thundering Falls.
The second
all Surveillance.
Those are the only 2 in his deck. So we've got 2 of 2 in play. There's been so much selection. Look at that Murktide Regent is probably a little hungry looking at that graveyard of 4 cards right now without any real spells being cast. Jonathan will get a Savai Triome. To try to get those land types in play, probably gets a Breeding Pool, the classic combo with Savai Triome, so that Territorial Kavu can just start off as a nice, healthy, young 5/5 for 2.
Yeah, I mean, this is what makes Scion of Draco so strong. People were trying it in things like the Rhinos deck with Violent Outburst before Violent Outburst was banned, just with no Leyline. And then now Leyline and Gilpack's out, and that sets the whole thing off. So, I mean, really, really very powerful, even in the abstract. But we're going to lead off on Territorial Kavu first. I think we have multiple in hand. Get those running. And already, Power Toughness equal the number of basic land types on lands you control. I see 5. I see a Bardu land and a Cynic land.
There's only 2 lands in play, and there's no guild pact. We have 5 out of 5. Domain count it. While Scion of Draco is just a 4/4 for 2, this card's a 5/5 for 2. Number go up. A big fan. So whenever Jonathan attacks with this combo, we either can exile a card from a graveyard or we rummaging, baby. Discard a card, draw a card. So that's probably what he'll be doing.
Both modes very strong, I think, in this matchup. Cutting down the graveyard certainly matters against things like Murktide Regent, specifically cutting against the sorceries. And now, we have Dress Down, making a 0/0. I think that's how that works, because it's in the graveyard now, which will pick off the Territorial Combo and draw a card. Dress Down looking even better than I thought.
Yeah, nobody truly knows how Dress Down works, but when a card has stars in the bottom right, Dress Down is good against them.
It's probably dead. Well, Tarmogoyf gets to live, because that one has a weird +1 too for some reason.
1+, yeah. So Dress Down got
stars just die.
Dress Down got the old 2 mana 2-for-1 with the Dress Down. And here we have Lórien Revealed. We're going to reveal not Lórien, but probably Steam Vince, if I had to guess. Maybe just an island, because Martin doesn't have a...
Imagine we want basic island. Yeah, we don't have that basic island. And this is actually kind of the story of Martin's game 2 here, is really struggling to hit land drops, having to pay mana, doing all this selection, and finding plenty of spells, even got a 2-for-1 with Dress Down, but not hitting land drops. We'll see if Jonathan can capitalize on the little bit of mana advantage he actually has over Martin here as this game progresses, just having to spend so much mana just hitting his land drops. Not really in a position to interact ideally in every turn. This Blood Moon's going to come down way later than I think Martin was originally hoping it would.
Yeah, but he's got a Snapcaster Mage to get some buybacks on removal spell. Looks like maybe Preordain. I think Martin has a Lightning Bolt in his hand, but 5 is bigger than 3, so that's going to get there. But it sounds like he found an Otawara, which is a 4th land. That's fine. That's kind of what he's in the market for looking for right now. I'm just going to pass it back.
Yeah, just hitting lands at all. Please, just give me a land. I mean, not even like a green land. He has to pick your poison in hand. Doesn't have to use it. We have Unholy Heat, 1-mana red spell that does work thanks to the Delirium Clause, where we can deal 6 damage. That will actually pick up the second Territorial Kavu. And honestly, for being a blue-red deck, navigating through 5/5s, not trivial. Martin's done a great job of handling them so far.
Yeah, not at all. Unholy Heat does so much more damage than you expect a 1-mana spell to do, but like you said, it's quite delirious that a red damage spell can do that much damage to a creature. But, that is one thing that Mishra's Baubles does help you a lot with, is getting artifacts into the graveyard for very little cost.
All right, you did it once, you did it twice. Can you do it thrice? Martin asks Jonathan with his 3rd copy of Territorial Kavu. And now maybe the direction to go is Blood Moon? I mean...
Yeah, it's so awkward when the opponent has 2 uncracked fetches ready to seek out other lands. But, it's probably not going to get any better than this. And the Blood Moon does stifle the Territorial Kavu some, because the highest number he could get is 3. But, how many basic lands do these decks run? Martin doesn't know for sure. No one knows for sure except for us and Jonathan. He's got 2 basic lands in the deck, 1 plains and 1 forest, and neither one of those lands can get a forest. So Blood Moon actually is secretly pretty good here, I think.
And here's a fetch. A little bit of discussion. Maybe Martin thinking it wanted to do something in response. Is it Tidebinder time? It's Snapcaster time. All right, so going for an Unholy Heat here. I assume this is to try to force Stubborn Denial to be a little bit more awkward with the way we're fetching here. And no Stubborn Denial, no Spell Pierce means that the Unholy Heat flashback from Snapcaster Mage is going to work.
There's so many cool decks in Modern that happen right now. If any deck is just Snapcaster Maging a red 1-mana instant spell that deals damage, I'm on board. I love that type of gameplay. I don't think I'll ever not love that type of gameplay. So like seeing Is It Wizards and like just controlling with Unholy Heat and Snapcaster Mage just really warms the cockles of my heart.
really brings you back. A lot of old Modern features. If you're a fan of old Modern that we've seen so far today, decks like Ad Nauseam and Merfolk, even Amulet. I mean, that one's been around a long time. People, I think, can kind of forget, especially with the impact that cards have on eternal formats in today's day and age. People kind of forget how long Amulet's actually been around. And you talk about Modern as like a eternal or sub-eternal, whatever format. A lot of these decks have stuck around for a long time. And here we see Snapcaster Mage getting finding a home, finding a debut, and looking good at killing 5/5s is the 2/1 Flash Human Wizard. And here comes Plains. Blood Moon may be on the radar now for Jonathan White.
Yeah, also, Jonathan is like on the back foot. He's at 15. Yeah, Lightning Bolt of Snapcaster Mage. Anytime my Snapcaster Mage has got Lightning Bolt, I'm like, thank goodness it's going to Tiago Chan and not my dome. So, like, big fan of that. Like, we'll take it. So now we're kind of neutral, except Martin has 5-6 cards in his hand, and Jonathan has 1 or 2. So, thankfully, I think it's looking like we might see a game 3 here, but Jonathan is like, not under my watch with my 3 cards in your hand. How dare you, David, say I think I only have 2. I've got 3, and I'm going to make them count.
And here comes the Blood Moon. And, we saw Jonathan spend his last turn picking up Giganta. It's not even clear to me that this Blood Moon is going to have an impact on what Jonathan's current plan is. I think his hand's all lands and a Giganta. And Giganta, you can cast it in Blood Moon. Whatever. Obviously future draws get worse and all that kind of stuff. But as for right now, I mean, Jonathan's hand is postured in such a way that doesn't actually disrupt anything he's actively trying to do right now. But of course, lots of turns left to be played, and part of the power of these Is It decks is that they just play underneath Blood Moon better after the fact. It's not just, oh, I play Blood Moon and it's lights out, like it can be against decks like Tron, Amulet, stuff like that, but more that it's going to be more disruptive to you than it is to me. And over time, because I can play through it better than you, I will end up winning the game where I may not have otherwise. And that's kind of the real equation that Blood Moon has always put forth in these kinds of matchups that aren't just decks built around using their lands in abusive ways. Here comes Giganta. Here comes
Giganta. And like you said, it's gotten even better since the printing of Lórien Revealed. Like before, when an opponent cracks a Scalding Tarn and gets a basic island turn 1, I'm like, Blood Moon. But now you can play Blood Moon with 3 blue-red dual lands, and then, all right, my turn. All right, island cycle, Lórien Revealed for a colorless mana, get an island, I'm online. So like you can kind of hide your Blood Moon trickery even better now with these island cyclers. Meanwhile, Jonathan's like, yeah, I've got a 5/5 for 5. Is this going to be good enough? You got more Unholy Heats back in your pocket? We're going to find out, because a 5/5 can end the game in 4 turns, but probably not exactly where Jonathan wants to be.
Here's a look at the 5/5 companion from Ikoria, the Elk. A lot of jokes about Elks after Throne of Eldraine and all the Oko shenanigans. This one, before that time, part of the powerful companion mechanic, can't have more than 1 of the same mana symbol in any mana cost. And of course, the way that Leyline of the Guild pack is set up, those are actually different mana symbols. So you actually do get to companion Giganta despite having similar mana costs. You can pay green for the Leyline, but they're different mana symbols, so you're good. And mostly just a 5/5. Not really looking to tap this for Wooburg, I think, is the Domain Zoo deck.
It breaks my heart because I have this card in my cube, and I always want to cast it like your 5 mana Wooburg cards. You don't see a lot of that in Modern. I'm just waiting for the day somebody casts, the war of the Kami War with Giganta.
No, give me the slivers. I miss the Soaring Tell, put in Morophon, play all the 5 mana slivers. I want to do some of that. That's where I want to go. But obviously that deck is so mean, all that stuff. Pick your poison in Jonathan's hand, still uncastable, needs to find the forest, has not actually, kind of got unlucky with his fetch land draws, now drew his first real green fetch land of the game that would be able to find the basic forest to allow him to cast the Pick Your Poison, which would allow him to get Blood Moon off the table if it resolves. So we're dealing with so many conditions, so many ifs. Like really what Jonathan has going on right now is this Giganta, and he's gonna have to hope it's good enough, as Snapcasters are chump blocking. Can't be the worst sign.
With our powers combined, Snapcaster Mage and Lightning Bolt, in the manual mode where Snapcaster's like, but I can cast Lightning Bolt. I've got different plans for you, buddy. And just
no, you're gonna block it, then Lightning Bolt's gonna back you up.
Yeah,
it's time to reverse the roles. And I mean, that synergy is a tale as old as Modern. really being able to leverage Snapcaster Mage plus Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt picked up for Jonathan. Not really good enough. I mean, I'm not even sure what helps here. Does Draco add anything?
I'm not sure. Martin, like, you think like, oh, Martin's the driver's seat. Well, there's nothing in play right now. Here's on the Snapcaster Mage. Are we going to ice to draw a card? Does he have 5 mana for the full Lórien Revealed?
Preordain? Oh, it's Snap Bolt
upstairs.
Time. It's in the game time. Sign me up. Thanks. Jonathan, red flags going off. If you're bolting me, then I'm bolting that. I am not looking to die to that, says Jonathan White, as we go back to Martin Ambroz. Like you said, nothing in play, which should favor Martin, as we do see a copy of Counterspell in his hand among the mix. And Jonathan, nothing with text, especially not lands with text, which his hand is full of. We drew the forest!
He drew the basic forest. I mean, there's 40 cards you could draw from, or so probably. Eventually, you're going to hit there. So now Jonathan is basically online with Pick Your Poison. He can get himself out from underneath this Blood Moon, but there's not actually a lot going on in his hand to begin with. So is it worth coming to Blood Moon? Because maybe there's a Murktide Regent, which Pick Your Poison can also get rid of.
Right, I think that's exactly where he's at. There's no rush. As here comes the full art extended version of this Flame of Anor. We're gonna get that on the screen. This is kind of the wizard synergy aspect of this. Is it Wizard's deck? You can see if you control Wizard, you get to pick 2 on this card, and all of the modes of this card are very strong. Deal 5 to target creature, a big number for killing large creatures for an Izzet deck. Destroying artifacts, main deck shatters always have utility, and then probably the most common mode by far. Target player draws 2 cards. So being able to do divination plus another effect for 3 mana is really strong. In the context of really any format in Magic, but especially in Modern. And being able to have just random Snapcaster Mages or Tishana's Tidebinders or what have you laying around to enable that, really, really strong. And also, as we saw there, just fine on rate as an in-step divination to allow you to draw Murktide and play it.
Yeah, right you are, Drake. So now we have Martin playing the Murktide Regent. There are not many threats in Martin's deck. He's got 12 creatures. Most of them are used for their abilities, and they will chump or what have you. But Murktide is one of the big papa. Daddy's home when Murktide comes out. So it's going to be huge. I don't know how big it's going to be. All right, it's a 6/6 or so, which is a lot.
Like
yeah, 6 does put Jonathan's life halfway through for each attack. But Jonathan does have a Pick Your Poison. But I think Martin has a counterspell. So like we have all this back and forth, and the poison just showing how good Pick Your Poison is. It can kill a Blood Moon. It can kill a Murktide Regent. You can choose modal which one to do. It's 1 mana. It doesn't even target, so it gets around like Leyline of Sanctity and the 1 ring. Like there's all kinds of crazy things this card does. Way better than the Mystery Booster version of Pick Your Poison. But we're going to see how.
Why do we do this? Why do we do it? Come on. Okay. Look, you're my punching bag for bones to pick with WotC Designers. 2 cards named Pick Your Poison. I'm looking at a deck list that when I hover over Pick Your Poison, it brings up the Mystery Booster copy. What's going on? Who makes this decision?
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many words in the English language. Eventually, we're going to run out. Unless we make new
There's
ones.
more. We have more. Pick Your Poison is going to get cast target. The mode you successfully called out, kind of the plummet mode, sacrifice a flyer, and oh yeah. How about 8 mana Draco? Talk to me.
So despite Martin having Counterspell in his hand, there wasn't that second requisitory blue mana needed for that. So this was Jonathan's time to strike with a 1 mana spell and a 6 mana spell with a forest and plains. Every basic land in his deck is in play to let him cast that Draco on the cheap for 6 mana.
Yeah, and now the Draco, does interplay, and another counterspell drawn, really awkward underneath Blood Moon. And once again, the effect Blood Moon has is that, hey, I can play better underneath it than you can. Well, with Jonathan drawing his second basic, honestly, the footing is fairly equal as far as things go. Both players more or less able to play under Blood Moon, kind of close to the same. And a bunch of counterspells, not great against the 4/4 Draco, but 4/4, not that quick of a clock, given that Martin is still at his full life total, can ice it and do various things of that ilk in order to really move the game along towards finding cards like another copy of Flame of Anor, of which there are 4, to destroy target artifact. So I imagine here at the beginning of combat, we're going to see Snapcaster Mage. Oh, we already have a Snapcaster for the Flame of Anor, and now this is really where you get to set it off nicely. Get the flashback, destroy artifact, draw 2.
Ooh. Now the real question here is Martin dealing 5 damage to it or destroying the artifact. That's how you get
all roads
the real measure of a man.
Play around mutagenic growth. Destroy target artifact. Love it.
Wow. You can see all the lines, Drake. So yeah, don't worry. Play snappy. Here we are, just rearing the blue-red card advantage head here. Jonathan's deck is more powerful individual card by card, but not a lot of them draw cards. Martin's deck, a lot of the cards are kind of more mopey, but they do draw cards, less impactful. But at this point in the game, each player has 10 lands in play or so. the blue-red is favored. And Martin's like, you know what? I want to tap down this forest just because I want to draw a card. But you may continue.
No, I love this sequence. We're on upkeep on Jonathan's turn. You want to play around another copy of Pick Your Poison in order to pick off the Blood Moon. You can do that for a turn by icing down that forest in order to set yourself up better to be ready for future threats. And this is exactly the spot Martin's been looking to set up. Even though it's just the Snapcaster Mage, it's a threat at all that can be in play and allow him to untap his islands and have Counterspell up. It doesn't need to be big. We saw this with the control deck. It doesn't need to be big. And this is what Snapcaster's been good at for all of Modern's history, is just getting it done 2 damage at a time. A 10-turn clock is a lot, but when backed up by a Counterspell every single turn, previously cards like Cryptic Command, now cards like actual Counterspell and Flames of Anor, this is a formula that has been winning in Modern for years. And this is exactly the spot that Blood Moon plus these Counterspells plus all this, Martin's really been trying to set up. Now, it's really hard with Blood Moon in play for Jonathan to ever, even if he has them, deploy 2 threats at a time. And so you can run every single one of those into a Counterspell at the pace you want to, and then Snapcaster Mage is just going to close the door the whole time, attacking.
An empty board on your opponent's side and a Blood Moon and a tap Snapcaster Mage on your side is just I love it. It's exactly what I want to do. Nowadays, Modern has gone, the cards are so powerful that, turn 1, bolt your guy, turn 3, Snapcaster, bolt your guy. That kind of game plan has kind of fallen the wayside a lot. But when the blue-red deck is up against Domain Zoo, and Domain Zoo does not have that Guild Pack Scion, combo thing going for it, it does come out ahead. And Martin did find his second copy of Murktide. So now the clock has gone to a 1-turn clock. Jonathan's at 8, and I think Martin is able to get this Murktide into a 6/6 with 3 spells. Yeah, we got 3 spells. So if Martin wants to, he can make that lethal next turn, and I think he would want to.
Well, he's been valuing, especially with this Unholy Heat in his hand, he's been valuing holding Delirium in his graveyard. Even with his first Murktide, he could have made it 2 points bigger, didn't, and got rewarded for doing so, because the Edict wouldn't have been any different with a 2 points bigger. And Delirium obviously has mattered over the course of this matchup. So I really think something I do want to call out for Martin as far as his expertise with this deck, being able to hold Delirium this entire time, not trivial. And this is a spot where I think we saw Martin kind of weigh this happening as well. It's like, I give Jonathan 1 more turn to find a Pick Your Poison, but if he does, he has to choose again between my Murktide Regent or the Blood Moon. If he picks the Blood Moon and doesn't have another backup turn, right away he dies, and that's a tall ask for him to have. So he went shields down as far as the islands go, took Counterspell offline to put Murktide into play to try to close the game right away, and as a result, Murktide did eat another Pick Your Poison, but not even that bad of an exchange for Martin. He's still very much in the driver's seat. And here comes the Wild Nicodle, the one creature that does really get turn 1 bolted. You're pretty happy with that exchange. Ragavan, I guess, in that mix as well.
Yeah, it is rather fitting that, if you want to kill a Regent, which is like a member of authority for ruling a thing, how do you do it? Well, you probably poison him. It's funny that both Murktide Regents were filled by these Pick Your Poisons. But Jonathan had another single green spell in the form of a 2/2 Wild Nicodle. No, 3/3. We had the full Monty of Plains Mountain Forest, but it did.
We had a full 3/3 Nicodle there. We just had it all.
Take that Blood Moon. So Martin, why, like you said, masterfully did keep Delirium so that Unholy Heat could take care of the Wild Nicodle. And here's Jonathan Wise returning with the Tribal Flames, dealing again 3 damage. But it does cost 2, so that spell will get snared by Narn. And as the Snapcaster Mage continues to truck through, it's trying to truck through. But Jonathan has Leyline Binding, but nope, Counterspell for that. I'm keeping my 2 on the line. Next.
Again, this is exactly the sequence that Martin's been trying to set up. And he is able to close the game with the bolt. So really, I mean, this is just traditional bolt, snap, bolt. Like you can see it, even Spell Snare getting back in there. Love this magic so much. This warms my heart. As a true Izzet Mage through and through, we were talking about how we like to play Magic. This is what I'm about. And I love this kind of deck, love this configuration. And that game really kind of went, even though it went long and it looked like there was a lot of back and forth, after the Blood Moon phase of that game, Martin really had a pretty good handle on the game. There wasn't really a way ever for Jonathan to sequence things well. He drew multiple Pick Your Poisons, drew the Forest, still couldn't actually justify getting the Blood Moon off the battlefield because of the Murktide Regent sizes, and just putting him in that stranglehold with those various permanents in the Izzet deck is really, really what Martin's trying to set up in this matchup. I think he did an excellent job executing there.
Yep, as an Izzet Mage, the most terrifying turns of the game, especially against this Guild Pack Scion deck, is turn 2. Turn 0, honestly, is the scariest turn because I can't really interact with those things. So as long as Jonathan can survive to the late game where both players are playing off the top, that is a deck with the cards that draw cards, removal spells, 2-for-1s, are going to just change the game way in their favor than anything Jonathan can pull out of like a 3-3-4 at the top, maybe a 4-4. None of the cards really work together to make something greater than the whole holistically. So for game 3, Jonathan, is looking for that Guild Pact Scion combo to try to just race off the bat and get going before Jonathan can get his shields up, his Blood Moon going, his 2-for-1s going. So I'm excited to see just how far these decks can go to take down the other one.
Likewise. Before we get into that, let's take a quick look at their decks one more time, get that on screen for you, either that may have missed it, or if it's time to reevaluate things. Things I think do change a lot in the play draw. When you're talking about these Leyline of the Guild Packs, the ability to get Ragavan in play, that's a card we used to see a lot of boarding out on the draw is Ragavans. I don't know if that's still kind of the heuristic and stuff like that, but something that I was aware of back in the day is, you would board out some of your Ragavans, especially in these kinds of matchups that pick it off very easily when there's no chance of really punking them out. You can't really get under them or anything like that. So let's see if there's any changes that we want to make. We did bring in Pick Your Poisons. They found targets in the form of Murktide Regents. Do we want all 4 of those? Not necessarily clear to me either. But now that we've seen Murktide Regent and Snapcaster Mage and how hard we're leaning on that, is it Rest in Peace time?
It could be. Like Territorial Kavu is already kind of stressed in that it wants to be rummaging all the time. But maybe Rest in Peace can take off the pressure from that Kavu if we end up into that, grindy kind of attack, draw a card, rummage, that kind of stuff game. So I'm not sure. But yeah, Pick Your Poison can hit Blood Moon. It can hit Murktide Regent. There's all kinds of targets for this poison. So, even against a deck that traditionally you wouldn't want to bring in Pick Your Poison, the card is so cheap, so flexible that it basically can find a home, I guess, in every deck in the format, which is why we're seeing these green cards in the sideboard of blue-red decks.
Yeah, no, I like, and also the brawlers that are 2-mana card that get answered by lightning bolts or spell snares or anything like that. That card, now that you've seen a lot more of Martin's deck, I think does get a little bit weaker. So there's some real considerations now that we've seen more of the deck that does come up in Magic, where game 3 sideboarding does need to change a little bit. I think it's worth considering Rest in Peace and stuff like that if you're Jonathan White. Now Martin knew what's up the whole time. He knew this was Domain Zoo. He knew what was going on. Not as much to consider there. Once again, you have to consider how good was the Blood Moon, how good, versus me being able to cast my Pick Your Poisons off my 1 breeding pool. That was like a real thing that came up with Martin having Pick Your Poison there at the end of the game. And there is turn 0, Leyline of the Guild Pact, met by a Savai Triome and a very quick fetch with this Misty Rainforest. And I believe Pick Your Poison in hand. I have to imagine we're going to be slamming that, because otherwise things get out of hand very quickly.
Yeah, the sweatiest time in the game is like you're going up against this, Leyline the Guild Pack deck, and it's turn 0, you're just like waiting for them to like, please don't say you have a Leyline, please don't say your Leyline. Jonathan did, but don't worry, Martin came prepared with just the right poison for the job, a little subtlety action going on there, and takes out the Leyline. So now Jonathan doesn't have a Leyline. Can he answer with a 2-mana creature or maybe even a dash Ragavan? Because so far things are going to Martin's way, especially since Jonathan mulliganed to 6 for game 3.
Yeah, this is a great exchange for Martin. The Leyline represents quite a bit of value, and being able to pick it off on turn 1 really mitigates how strong Jonathan's turn 2 can be. Even leading on a Triome, where, now we can play like a really big Kavu, or, even I think Silent of Draco could be online. It's still just like a random 4/4 or whatever. And that's something that we saw with Flame of Anor and Unholy Heat and all that stuff. Are actually a lot more trivial to answer than you might think. And there is the Brawler, Nishoba Brawler. That one is still a 5/3, but once again, it gets picked off by most of the red spells in Martin's deck. Now, getting a quick glance at his hand, not a lot of red spells in his hand, so he does need to find an answer to that, but has a little bit of time.
Yeah, so here, Martin answered the big bad, the Leyline in the Guild Pact, got my sideboard card. Jonathan played a 2-mana creature, but now it's attacking for 5 and you're 12, and you're like, I really got to start caring about this uncommon from Dominar United way sooner than I thought, even though I have all these counterspells in my hand. So, the clock is still there. The fight ain't over. And it's really up to Martin to piece together these cards to, find a Flame of Anor or maybe an Unholy Heat, even though we're only halfway to Delirium. So, maybe the game will just be over in 3 turns. I don't know.
I would be shocked. I'll tell you that. There's Fire Ice on top of the deck. Yeah, you see him considering that one. Does tap it down for a turn, but does not actually kill it. And yeah, you can see he's not too excited. I love how expressive Martin is here as he's looking with his Surveil land and gets to untap, draw another copy of Pick Your Poison. One of the weird threats in Domain Zoo that does not get answered at Pick Your Poison is this Brawler, so does need to find a red card of some sort to pick this off, as here is Preordain. Sees Flame of Anor and Unholy Heat. Hello!
Those are 2 cards that can kill the Brawler. Unholy Flame of Anor doesn't need any help at all. So that's exactly the card he was looking for. Now you kind of have to piece together, can I get an Unholy Heat? I've got a sorcery instant land. I need like a Mishra's Bauble or a way to surveil a creature into the graveyard, and then I can, you know, Unholy Heat this brawler, and then maybe keep the Flame of Anor for a 2-for-1 nature down the road. But I probably am interested in keeping both of these cards because they're going to be attacking for threats. Jonathan's deck does one thing: it plays creatures and attacks with them. So you want to be killing this creature. So I'm interested to see how Martin organizes these cards. Yep, he keeps Unholy Heat on top because that lets him maybe kill like another creature that comes down the line next turn or something. Maybe a Ragavan Dash that can take care of. And then next turn, Flame of Anor can kill the Nishoba Brawler, and we can progress to, you know, the mid game and get past these really initial, oh gosh, I have to take care of these things before they get too out of hand.
And a sweet sequence here with Mutavault, actually. We have this Flame of Anor we're going to draw. We have Lórien Revealed. We can find our 4th land. You can actually just activate Mutavault with itself to give yourself a wizard, and then Flame of Anor for 2 modes. So get a little bit of extra mileage out of these random utility lands is Martin, assuming he can make it happen. And now it does come at a cost. He does not have one of his copies of Counterspell available this turn because of Mutavault. As here comes an attack with the Brawler, and Snapcaster is going to block to eat some damage.
It eats 1 damage, that's for sure. And here we have Scion of Draco. Just like, you know, I've got 2 lands in play, no guild pack, still good enough. Triomes are really good, and Shocklands, well, Modern, you could say, is defined by Shocklands. It's kind of the reason the format exists. But Martin is like, you know, Martin's a 7, but that's okay. Like you said, here comes the Lórien Revealed to get probably just basic island from the deck, so we can take down either one of these creatures. I wonder which one I'd want to kill.
I think you can answer both. So I think we now have Pick Your Poison plus Unholy Heat on, thanks to that block with Snapcaster, giving yourself Delirium. So now you can Unholy Heat the Brawler and get that one off the battlefield. And then you can Pick Your Poison the Scion of Draco and send Jonathan back with, again, 2 lands, very much stuck on mana. Although, you know, 2 mana is kind of the magic number. Zoo deck's not really known for wanting to hit every single one of their land drops, and this deck is certainly in that mixture. Does kind of want to stop at, you know, 4 lands really, maybe at most, so you could double spell. So very content to play 1 threat a turn. And if Martin can get out from underneath these threats, going to be actually very well set up to end the game very quickly, as he's looking at a Misty Rainforest off the Thunderous Falls that was found with Lórien Revealed.
Yeah, that Snapcaster Mage block on the Nishoba Brawler looked kind of curious, but they turned on the Delirium, and like, that was such a heads-up play by Martin to get Delirium online, so he can answer both these threats that cost 2 mana with these cards that cost 1 mana, and that's trading up on mana advantage, baby. So like, that's exactly what I want to do. So like, awesome work. This is really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, really strong. It really highlights what the Wizards in like these blue-red decks is about. I mean, Jonathan spending his turn just to buy Giganta is exactly what Martin wants to see. Now has access to Mutavault plus Flame of Anor, has multiple counterspells up, and just like that, that 1 turn off from Jonathan White, I'd say Martin is now firmly in the driver's seat. Despite being at 7, I mean, multiple tribal flames, things like that could look really, really scary from your seat, but Martin really has a lot of tools that Jonathan's going to have to work through before even like these tribal flames could even begin to matter, including 2 copies of Counterspell.
That functional errata to companions being like, oh, you have to take a turn off to put them in your hand. All right, now there's a real cost to involving them on the game state, as those are just like hanging out in the sideboard. And we saw Jonathan take his turn off to do that, but also he drew Leyline the Guild Pack, which is, you know, we all talk about like Amulet of Vigor and Ether Vow, great on turn 1, but later, you know, worse later on. Guild Pact is even more in that direction. Turn 0 is just the best card ever made, and then on turn 4, like it's really hard to cast. It doesn't do anything when you play it.
Yeah.
Like Scion already is good, like without it. You have to have the Leyline and the Scion and another creature, and like, you know, that's so much stuff to piece together against a blue-red deck with 4 cards in their hand and 5 lands in play, and it's a little clunkier now. So Jonathan, but like Jonathan has a choice. He doesn't have these Preordains like you're seeing Martin cast right now. He doesn't have these ways to manipulate his deck. It's kind of like, well, I'll draw a card, I'm going to play it and see if that's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly where we're at. And I think there's a Murktide Regent now. That can close the door on the game really quickly. Multiple copies of Pick Your Poison in Jonathan White's hands. So even though it looks really tempting, I guess, from Martin's side, that one would get picked off pretty quick, assuming you do choose to cast it, you know, anytime soon. But I mean, honestly, for now, Martin's pretty content just to be rolled up in hand. 2 counterspells, Bolt and Flame of Anor. That's a lot to slog through for the Domain Zoo deck, especially as he continues to miss land drops. Found both basics. Blood Moon does not be too good on this board. Martin hasn't drawn it, and that's actually, I mean, part of the cost of Blood Moon too is your opponents like fetch basics and then you just never draw it, so they hamper their mana. I mean, maybe part of the reason we kept his hand, maybe not. Basics and considerations. I think you just drew him off the top. Those we're casting Leyline of the Guild Pack. Woof.
Get that green devotion up there. You know, but 4 pips for 4. Wow, that's insane. You know, I rated a 4 out of 4. But Martin's like, there's a lot of crazy things. Like you play that, the next one you play is Silence, which I can't answer because it has hexproof. No, thank you. I'm gonna just keep that out the board for now, and just continue my train of, I've got Wizard of Honor, Flame of Anor to 2-for-1, kill a thing, draw 2 cards. But let's just deploy a Murktide for now and just see if I can stick this threat and see if you can survive all the poison that Jonathan might be throwing at this Regent's way.
I'll tell you what, I'm not optimistic about that. I do like the counterspelling, the Leyline, though. I think as far as, Jonathan spending his turn just to put this thing that doesn't attack or block or pressure my life total in any way in play, I'm at a spot where you're so far ahead. The one way you don't want to get punked out, especially having no copies of Pick Your Poison in your hand right now, is with any kind of Leyline, Tribal Flames, Scion, all that kind of stuff, any kind of sequence of that stuff. Go ahead and counterspell it. You have an extra dialed up anyway, and you have plenty of answers to the creature threats already in hand anyway. So let's go ahead and counter the things that you can't answer with creature removal, and go. We have the removal still dialed up. If Jonathan ever decides to play a creature again, which I don't even know where we're at on that, as we go back to his turn number unknown, still at 4 mana.
So Jonathan just picked up a Tribal Flames, and I think that might be the way Jonathan wins. I think he might have a Lightning Bolt in hand too. So Jonathan's Pick Your Poison, kill that. Pick Your Poison, kill that. And then maybe just Tribal Flames you for 5 while your shields are down. Yeah, he's got Lethal Burn in his hand right now. Yeah, I'll Flames you. No. Put you to 1, buddy. Nice fetch land. So, Martin has all these cards in his hand and, kind of in the driver's seat. Not so much. There's the end of the road's coming up real quicker than you might imagine. Objects in your mirror are closer than they appear. And unbeknownst to him, there's a Lightning Bolt in Jonathan's hand. And he's got to keep the shields up for that. But he's only got a Flame of Honor and a Lightning Bolt in his hand. So, this Flame of Honor better draw some counterspell, some interaction with this Lightning Bolt, or Martin's just going to eat it to the bolt.
Yeah, and that might be where we're at now. And I think Martin has kind of realized that this game can't go on forever. I will just die to burn. He may not know that the burn's already there as Jonathan plays land drop number 5, being very patient with the burn. I mean, is it not known for its life gain? Able to deploy Gigantha just to give Martin another thing he has to answer. And he's going to wait until he can tap Mutavault and then get some extra value out of Flame of Anor. So I think we're going to see that right now. Yeah. As here comes.
I like Jonathan's deploy of the 5/5 for 5. Some people be like, why don't you Lightning Bolt them? They're at 1, they're dead. Well, but what if they have a counterspell in their hand or some kind of weird thing? So I like the Gigantha play to kind of bait out Counterspell or Snapcaster Counterspell. I don't know if you had mana for that, but to bait out a Counterspell or something. So then later you can, I'll just Lightning Bolt you 3 of the dome. So I like this play. Martin does answer the Gigantha with a 3-for-1, draw 2 cards, kill a thing, which is a lot of value. So, this door may be closing on this burn strategy by Jonathan. So I'm curious to see if he goes, shoots for the moon next turn. I'd be tempted to, but I don't know.
You just want to get him dead. Get the game over with. I mean, once again, players don't have access to the information we have access to. We knew Martin was dead. Jonathan does not know that and can reasonably play around a few different things. Gigantha is something that is a lethal threat. It has to be answered. And so forcing action from Martin in various angles is a great way to more or less guarantee. And you have more burn in your deck. So there's even the potential to set up a turn where you get to go burn spell. And with Jonathan really under no pressure, Mutavault is worth next to 0 and requires Martin to tap mana every turn, as I believe we're trying to figure out if Martin's played a land or not. I think he tried to play a basic island there. Did not get a good look if he played a land or not. I don't think he did. I think he played a tapped Steam Vents last turn and then has not played a land for this turn. But the players are going to figure that out, and we'll get a clear-cut answer. I could be missing something. But yeah, I think I really like Jonathan's patience here. Obviously you could just go boink, kill you, but what if there's Force Negation? What if there's Counterspell? What if there's some kind of Snapcaster shenanigans like you called out? Being able to set up spots where you're still forcing Martin to act and drawing live to make that bolt better and more likely to happen is part of what sets apart, the goods from the greats. And really watching Jonathan White navigate this is impressive.
Yeah, an old adage of Magic is if you tap your lands every turn for mana, you're going to do a better job winning the game. So Jonathan did use all 5 lands to tap Gigantha. Now we can see if he draws anything to go with the bolt. He drew a Flooded Strand. So now Jonathan is seeing his opponent. His opponent has 2 mana available. They're both blue. So that means Counterspell is live, but Snapcaster not live. Some other weird spells that maybe he's not thinking of, 3 mana spells, are not live. So is this the turn when Jonathan goes to? He says, you know what? I think I'm good. I'm not under pressure. Jonathan can't die next turn. So he's giving it a couple more time to draw some outs because many cards in Jonathan's deck are 1-to-1 kill you. There are less cards in Martin's deck that are 1-for-1 answer that card that is 1-for-1 killing him. So I think waiting for time is probably really smart and heads up play by Jonathan. So and Martin just thank you for 2 pass. The second Lightning Bolt. Second bolt.
Oh my goodness! And now, I mean, it doesn't get much better. You can wait till upkeep if you want.
Yeah.
Snapcaster, Counterspell, maybe.
Oh, Martin's casting spells.
We can respond with bolts. Oh, this is so sick. Jonathan heavily rewarded for his patience with Lightning Bolt. Assuming Martin had a Counterspell, he doesn't even have Counterspell number 1.
I have a response.
Here it comes.
I have a response.
Target you.
Target.
No.
Tidebinder? Me?
No, Tidebinder. Oh yeah, Tidebinder resolve. Yeah, you can bolt. Me. Yeah, all right, you got it. And Martin trying to figure out where it all went wrong as he is going to lose this match to Jonathan White. What was a tight match? It really felt like it could go either way there in game 3. Very competitive. The Domain Zoo showing why it is as powerful as it is. Cards like Tribal Flames, 5 damage, 2 bolts on top of that. That's 11. That's half the life total right there. So these cards, even underneath no action for 5-6 turns, no attackers, looks like you've more or less lost the game, able to burn out Martin from a position that looked nearly unlosable. And Jonathan White going to advance with his take of Domain Zoo.
Yeah, so meanwhile, while I may be wearing an Is It Guild Mage pin, it turns out both the decks that round were blue-red, and Lightning Bolt was kind of the defining card of both sides, so I'm really happy to see Jonathan take the one with Lightning Bolt in this deck about light on the Guild Pact and Sign of the Draco, but sometimes, the card from Alpha, still good in Modern, turns out. We've been healing salving, we've been Lightning Bolting, we've kind of been Dark Ritualing in the terms of Lotus Bloom earlier on, so it's really cool to see all these different Modern decks. No repeats fight for the right for the 10K prize pool here in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And speaking of 10K prize pools and the Modern format, if you like what you see here and you're like, man, I can't believe I missed this event, I really got to make it out to the next one. Well, you're in luck because there is another event in Indianapolis in May, and there is another Saturday Modern 10K Showdown. You can play any of the decks that you're going to see here today at the end of the event. Find those, buy them, show up, win the event, win your ticket to the regional championship if you make the top 4, or even your ticket to the NRG champs at the end of the year if you win it. And then on Sunday, there's another opportunity to do so alongside your friends. It'll be Standard, Modern, and Pioneer. It's a team event where both finalist teams will qualify for the regional championship, and of course, the winning team will qualify for the end of year championship. But that's not all. There is another event to close out season 1 that will happen in St. Louis. This one's going to be in June, and this is going to get your taste of Pioneer for high stakes. The 10K Pioneer Showdown, same prize pool that we've been talking about. Our highest stakes open entry event that we have here on the Energy Series are these showdowns, and you can punch your ticket to the RC or to the Energy Championship there. And of course, if you still can't get enough Modern, there's some of that for you on Sunday for a 5K Modern trial. That will do it for round number 4 here in Minneapolis. I'm in the booth here with David McDarby. We'll be bringing you one more round of Modern before we pass the torch to the next round of casters. It has been a sweet event so far. All different decks, all very talented pilots. As we begin to get the shape of our top of the meta game, we will be bringing you round number 5 here very shortly. Do not go anywhere.
See you then.